Welcome to the podcast.
Morning, Jay.
Morning, Russell.
How you doing, buddy?
Russell.
You look
What?
amazing.
Is it my new hair?
It's the new hair. It's the whole Air Force regiment sort of thing you've got going on. I just make shit up.
I don't think we should go into hair yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking
Without that's just probably a sore point.
I was going to introduce Big Dan, but then I realised there's no way in hell I can say his second name. So I just thought it's best to either say, hi, it's Big Dan, or I let you give him the proper introduction that he deserves.
Well, in that case, I'll take the range if you don't mind. Say, welcome to the pod. Danny O, good to have you here, buddy.
Wow, not been called that for a long time.
Yeah.
Danny O, that brings back some memories. Things have suddenly come screaming back to me.
It's good to be together.
It's good. It's good to be here, guys, and thanks very much for inviting me on.
He went very professional then,
He
didn't
did.
he?
Did you notice that? Yeah,
That's how close we're getting. Dan's being very professional in his career of TV and radio, and we're not.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Big Dan.
Yes,
Dan.
mate.
Danny O. Who are you? Where'd you come from?
Well, Graham. Oh no, that was Scylla, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm born in London, grew up in York. Decided to leave the UK 2005 for good. Well, maybe not for good, but at least for an extended period of time. Decided to become a diving instructor. Went to Thailand, over to Koh Tao on the East Coast, trained to become an instructor. Moved to Australia, then moved to Borneo, and ended up back in Thailand, where I ended up getting a job here in Phuket, where I met you guys. I was working for the Phuket Gazette, and then moved to 91.5 FM, Phuket Island Radio.
Ka-ching.
I can't remember the tagline off the top of my head. The station where everyone listens, no one listens, one of the two. I can't remember. I think it might have been the latter. And then...
Oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No. And then after a while, that I ended up getting offered a job in Singapore. I was ESPN
All right,
Star
Dan,
Sports.
slow down.
Oh, okay. You said what?
I know.
Who I am, where I am.
I'm just letting him run. Just let him run.
No, I don't want to let him run. We need to interrupt.
No, you're the one
Is
to
that French? I'm afraid I don't speak French.
Danny O no longer lives in Phuket, but you've come all the way here just for this podcast, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
No, you haven't. Why are you here this weekend?
I'm here because a few of my friends are moving on from Singapore next year, and we're having a bit of a lads' weekend to give them one last final hurrah.
Oh, fair enough.
And you couldn't have done that in Singapore.
No, very true.
No,
So
it's really expensive.
Yeah, to be fair. Cheaper to fly here.
Yeah,
Stay-
absolutely.
no, absolutely.
I mean, it is.
I know.
let's go back in history to where... Okay, so you're originally from the UK, then you came out to Thailand as a diving instructor, did your diving stuff. But let's go to the Phuket bit, because I think that's the bit that we want to base ourselves in.
Cool.
Although Borneo does sound pretty cool.
Australia doesn't.
What were you doing when you first came to Phuket?
Nothing. So I came here with the idea of getting a job doing something. Wasn't 100% sure what, but I wanted to try and start doing some TV presenting. And good friends of all of ours, Tash and Steve.
Yeah.
Whoa. Good friends of two of you.
Okay.
Amazing friends to me.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point.
One of them, anyway.
So I assume that's with the dogs.
Which one of the dogs?
Wait, sorry, they've got dogs?
Apparently, I see the odd picture on social media. So one of their friends had his own sort of independent TV company, and he said he had some ideas and he wanted a host and blah blah blah. And I wanted to get into sports broadcasting, and I figured it'd be a good way to sort of dip my toes into the water.
Sorry, we interrupt people, whereas because you do an amazing podcast.
When he says we.
Oh, yeah. Jay interrupts you. We'll talk about your podcast in a minute. Did you want to be a sports journalist? Shut up, Russell. Did you want to be a sports journalist and presenter before you did your diving thing? Was the diving thing just to travel, or was the journalism always in your head?
I'd always wanted to be a football writer.
Okay.
And then happened
rather
to be...
than a player?
I always wanted to be a player to start with, and realised I had the talent of pretty much this mug of tea sitting in front of me. So we're talking about how I decided to get into sports broadcasting.
You wanted to do sports broadcasting, but you came as a dive instructor. So what was you was talking about you went to Australia for the Ashes. Go.
So we're at the test in Melbourne. We'd just been flogged. We come out of the stadium, and my brother spotted Tim Abraham, the Sky Sports News cricket correspondent, and he was chatting to England fans about the performance. So my brother said, come on, let's go and have a look, see what he had to say, what he's got to say. So we went over there, and he was chatting to some people, and a lot of people at the time, because I had my dreads, said I looked like Andrew Simons, the Aussie cricketer, and I had the zinc on because I was playing up to it. And he said, I just want to talk to this fella over here, and that was me. So he asked me a few questions, and I was fairly well oiled. I say we'd been drinking quite a lot, because just to banish the memory of the cricket. But got through the questions, answered fairly eruditely, I thought, and then he said, thanks very much, that was really good.
Eruditely.
Well.
Thanks.
And as we walked off, my mate said, did you hear what he said at the end? I'm like, no, I didn't. He said you did really well. I said, no, he said that to everyone. I said, he didn't. I'm like, oh. And then a few hours later, we start getting messages from people back home saying, "Oh, I've just seen you on Sky Sports News. It's really cool." I'm like, what a great job. I want to do that. And I said at the time, my brother laughed at me. And he says, "Come on, you'll never do that." And I was like, "Oh, no, that's what I want to do." And I remember when I was in Borneo, I then started speaking to people who came through the dive shop I was working at, who worked in TV. And one of the persons said, the best place for you to start would be Asia, because there's less talent, for one. Less sheer volume of talent. The talent is there, but there's nowhere near as much. It's not as competitive. So that's the plan. So I thought, right, well, if I move back to Thailand, Jason was the guy who had his own TV company here in Phuket. I thought, right, if I can get a start with him, maybe do some stuff, practice, and then try and get a job at ESPN as it was in Singapore. So that's why I came to Phuket.
Wow. Is that clip still available of you being interviewed anywhere?
No. I mean, it might be in Sky Sports Annals somewhere, or it might be on YouTube, but I don't think. I've never even looked, to be honest.
Be interesting to try and track that down.
Yeah, it would. I do know a couple of people. I do know a couple of people who do work for Sky Sports News, actually, so it might be possible. But I imagine they probably do keep recordings of everything they still do.
This is 2005 Ashes.
2005-6.
Okay, so you've left the UK.
No, sorry, 6-7, 2006-7.
All right, so you've left the UK, but what was your background there? Did you do journalism or anything?
No. So I went to University Sheffield Hallam and I did a sport and sociology degree.
I nearly went to Sheffield.
Great city. Really good student city. And I wanted to be a sports writer, but I remember going to a careers forum and the guy, one of the posts was a journalist, and he said, "Look, do a degree you want and then do a sort of follow-up course in journalism." I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then decided to go travelling with mates of mine after uni, and also became a holiday rep, and that kind of put on the backbone. And then I wanted to become a diving instructor. So the idea of getting a real job kind of fell by the wayside for the time being. And I never actually had a real job in the UK. I just did bits and bobs and sold milk and worked behind bars and stuff like that. But I always still wanted to go back into the journalism side of thing. So actually coming to Phuket, I ended up getting a job at the Phuket Gazette because they were looking for a desk editor to help sub all the stuff. And went along for an interview. They gave me
old school.
Absolutely. They gave me a bit of copy from one of their Thai writers. Says, "Can you turn that into something that could be a new?" Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say it, but yes, into a news story, and I did. And they came out and said, "Well, you can write. We just need
I can read too.
Yeah, we just need to discuss about technical things and work permits and stuff like that. But we'll get back to you." And a couple of weeks later, they said, "Right, job's yours if you want it."
So that was your first. So the Gazette, the Phuket Gazette, was your intro into journalism.
I'd written a few things for the local York papers when I was at school, and I did a bit of work experience with one of them as well, but nothing that serious. So pretty much the Phuket Gazette was where I kind of got started, and there was their subbing.
And what year? So that was
2008.
Okay, so then after that,
because the kicker to get you to do that was this drunken foray at, was that the MCG?
It was at the MCG. It wasn't. It was in probably be middle of the afternoon.
Right. Yeah. So drunken foray. Just a random opportune moment talking to a guy on Sky Sports. That was really the kicker to say, right, I'm going to focus my effort to try and
and do it through Asia, because I also knew that ESPN Star Sports was based out of Singapore, and that's just a short hop from here.
See, that's similar to your dog story.
No.
No, it is. You wanted to play with doggies, and then you came here to Asia and you've set up your doggy thing.
Correct.
So you two have got a very similar, you kind of saw this, came to Asia, now you've followed your goals and you've reached your goals. Whereas other people don't ever follow their goals, don't ever reach their goals, and they're just sad people.
But we're not going to mention any names or point any fingers.
And I wouldn't say I've reached my goals yet. There's still a lot of things I want to do.
We'll get to that in a minute. And shut your face, you dittos. When did we all meet? I'm trying to figure the dates of when. So who was on the radio?
You were on the radio first.
When you say you, that's
Jay.
me.
Yeah, sorry. For those watching in black and white, I'm pointing at Jay.
Yeah.
You started first with the Chill Out Show.
The amazing
Sunday afternoon Chill Out show.
Yeah.
I came on board to do the Rock Show.
Terrible rock show.
And then
starring Dwayne Johnson.
That's the one.
Pretty good coup there for Byron, to be fair.
He's done well. He's in.
We're besties. And then there was the Lady Marmalade breakfast show, if you remember that wonderful 2 weeks.
She's still on the island, so let's be careful. Don't slag her off.
I'm not slagging her off, but she did a wonderful...
She was lovely. She was one of these people, though, and I think that we can all respond to this. Talking to her without putting the microphone in front of her, she was amazing. She was great. She was bubbly. As soon as she sat in that studio and put that microphone in front of her, just
So I started the breakfast show because Byron got me in. Said, "Can you come in and just sit with her through the breakfast show, just to sort of help her out?"
Well, it's your fault. You didn't help much.
It's exactly right. Off air,
Sabotage.
Yeah.
she was chatting. She was bubbly. She was really easy. We had a bit of a laugh, and I mean, her English was great. It wasn't. I mean, she was Thai, but her English was great. She could understand the colloquialism. She could have the laugh and the banter. But as soon as she went on air, it was just deadpan, just.
Not everyone can do it. I mean, it is a skill.
Yeah.
You know, some people are fantastic storytellers and, you know, be the center of attention, but you put them in front of people either physically or knowing that they're out there and they'll just clam up shut.
Or like you said before, Jay, putting a microphone in their hand like,
Well, I think this was when I started the podcast. It was I invested in some lapel mics just purely because no one can see this, but we're all sat here with 3 microphones in front of our faces talking. We're all used to it. But I was always worried that those people were going to clam up. So the idea with the lapel mic was to try to, you know, reduce that clamming. I don't want them too clammy. And it did work a little bit-ish. And it does work.
It makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
And I think with this new red box that we love, I think
I'd heard a lot about this red box. I have to say I'm very impressed.
The red box works. Even though it was from Lazazazada, it does work.
Yeah.
So we all started. So when did you come onto the radio, Dan?
So I joined the Breakfast Show 2009. So you'd left.
I just left.
And I was speaking to you about how unhappy I was at the Phuket Gazette.
That's right, yeah.
Because my editor at the time, who I believe still on the island, and I won't slag him off, was he just wasn't very good at his job.
Yeah.
And it was
trying to work out who it is.
It was a miserable environment to exist in, and
we were in Roxy Bar one night.
Yes.
That's right, because I was helping, you know, DJ. I use the term loosely, just playing tracks off his computer, but it was good fun. And then we were chatting about it because I was at the time miserable with my existence here at the radio and looking to move to the States to do the dog training stuff.
Yes, so you told me all about it, and then I think you basically you spoke to Byron about me, and then he reached out to me and said, "Would you be interested in working on the radio?" So, well, I really want to get out of the Phuket Gazette, to be honest. And I remember interviewing John Dykes, whose show I now produce, about his career progression and then what I should do if I wanted to do the same thing. He said, newspapers, radio, TV. I was like, all right, well, I've done newspapers. You know, not to any great shakes. Phuket Gazette is not exactly the Times of London, but still a start. Yeah, absolutely. Right, there's an opportunity to go on the radio. And I think I'd met you before then, but it would have been around about that time when everything sort of seemed to come together and solidify amongst the 3 of us. So Byron offered me the job. I was like, yep, get me out of the Phuket Gazette and let me start on the radio.
And so you went straight in to do the breakfast show?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of weeks training. I sort of shadowed Doris, you know, bless him.
God bless
absolutely. And then, Byron said, right, that's it. You're off breakfast show Monday to Friday, and then I want you to do a Saturday sports show as well. I was like, yep, well, sounds right up my alley. Let's go. And here we are.
And you'd never done radio, never thought about it. It was just part of the whole media kind of group that you wanted to try radio just to get the progression to TV.
Basically, yeah.
TV is where you wanted to get to.
Absolutely.
I don't think any of us had done radio.
No.
Really?
To any great shakes. I certainly
you wanted to go down that particular career path.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, you kind of ruined it for the rest of us, really.
I just sort of fell into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that happens in Phuket.
Yeah, there is.
Train people that want to actually do this kind of performance, want to get into the media, and then dicks like you just come in with your ginger hair.
But we're all super talented at it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can't hold talent back.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know where to go with that one. Okay, so then I really want to catch up because there's your story up probably out of Phuket is where I really want to go because we've got you over here and you've made it quite successfully. I'm going to say because I'm going to give you that within the Asia kind of TV and media, especially from the Asia sports situation. You're a known person.
You've been on telly.
I've been on telly. I've been on
not
TV.
On Crime Watch.
Not on Crime Watch. Is that a black thing? I don't know. Only I can get away with saying that as well. Yeah. So I'll move swiftly on. Actually, my mum used to say that to my dad all the time when they were watching Crime Watch back in the day. Oh, he doesn't half look like you. Didn't go down well, let me tell you that. See, it's
we were peaking at that point.
Am I well known? Definitely not. Some people recognise me, yes, which is weird. But
do you get so tell us exactly what you do right now, and then I'll ask the questions about. So right now you're based in Singapore, working for Fox Sports.
Yes, I work for Fox Sports Asia. I currently produce the John Dykes Show, which is a thrice weekly football magazine show.
Thrice. 3 times a week.
Thanks.
Hosted by the man John Dykes himself, who's been a fixture of Asian football broadcasting for a long time. He went away to work for Premier League TV for about 7 years after initially working for ESPN Star Sports, doing Premier League, Champions League and all the rest. And then he's back with us. He's been back in Singapore for this. We're in the 3rd season of the JD show now, so it's basically my job to help pull his ideas together and make it into a half-an-hour format, and then he goes out and delivers it to Asia and the world.
So you're more producing than you are now presenting?
Yes, unfortunately, which is not what I want to do.
No, and that's what I really want to ask you, because we talked... So Dan and I, obviously we've known each other for a long time, and I DJ'd at your wedding.
You did, thank you very much. You did
it was my last
phenomenal job.
Can I just say, best playlist ever?
Thank you very much. We were pretty happy with it.
Apart from Steve's choice of one song, which we talked about on his podcast... and we won't go in there, but Steve has
Thanks,
from now on, Steve's not allowed to choose any music.
Fair enough.
Ever again.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Good.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing playlist, by the way. But we talked
amazingly played as well.
Thank you very much. You're more keen to do presenting rather than producing, but you've kind of progressed to the producing side. Now, that I'm sensing is not your doing. But do you feel that you're kind of in your... What's the word I'm looking for?
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, there you go.
I do. And it's great to see something you've helped put together sort of come to life on the screen. And it's always good to have more strings to your bow. You know, I think there's... No matter what you do, if you can add it to your repertoire, it's going to make you more employable in the future. Ultimately, I do want to either be a presenter or I want to be a reporter. I love being out there at live sporting events. You know, you get an incredible buzz from it, and it's just great being on the ground, and you get to experience different sports in different countries, and that's really what I want to do. But producing is enjoyable, and like I say, it'll probably make me more employable down the future.
So from your move back, you just mentioned about, because I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and you've been talking about going to Germany and all these places you've been. So just tell us some of the stories. Where's the kind of the most interesting place you've been sent to for an assignment?
I've been very lucky to do quite a few this year. I started off January with the Asian Cup in the UAE, which was a great experience. We were based out of Abu Dhabi, but also out of Al Ain, which is somewhere where I never thought I'd ever go.
Where's Al Ain?
In
the United Arab Emirates.
Thanks.
So yeah, it's all part of the same country. So we did. We also went up to I think Sharjah as well, which was again somewhere I never thought we'd ever go. I've seen England play cricket there, on TV, but I never thought I'd end up going there. So that was the start of the year. I also went to Shanghai to help cover the Formula One for the 1000th ever F1 Grand Prix, which is pretty amazing. I got sent to Austria this year for the Grand Prix too, which was incredible. I went to Austria skiing when I was a kid with school, and I've not been since. And it's great to go in the summer, and beautiful country, and an amazing Grand Prix as well.
Do you get flown out there and looked after the whole time?
We have to look after ourselves, but I mean, everything's
comped. Yeah,
not comped. I mean, I have a company credit card which I use, and so that takes care of most things. But yeah, they pay for the flights, they sort out the hotel.
Given loads of freebies as well?
Not really. We get a few bits and bobs.
Get an F1 cap kind of stuff.
No, they're really expensive. They're really expensive. Like crazy. Like a Mercedes F1 race cap is like $90.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Is that Sing or US?
Sing.
The same though,
it's not that much, dear. Probably about $75 US.
See, merch, mate. That's where the money's, Russ.
Absolutely.
That's where the money's coming from.
It really is.
Canine point caps. Is that what you mean?
I was more thinking Jayleshark. Yeah, we can put canine on the back, maybe.
In very small letters.
Yeah, on the inside.
Yeah, on the inside.
Like you own it.
Yeah.
But I was lucky actually. So at the Grand Prix, they have what they call a hot lap. So it's normally for clients and stuff like that. But our reporter on site, Matthew Marsh, who used to be a driver and based out in Hong Kong, he does the hot laps, and we take the footage from inside the car and we make up a little package so viewers on TV can get to see what it's like to experience. And when you do the hot lap, you get a cap from Pirelli. And they only ever give these out to the guys who do the hot laps and also the winners of the Grand Prix. And because he'd done a few of them, he actually gave his to me when we were in Suzuka last year. So I have a Pirelli cap.
Does it fit your big head?
It does.
Yeah.
Like when I had hair, I couldn't wear caps or hats of any description. But now I shaved the hair off, I can actually wear the cap.
And you look good with a shaven head.
Thank you very much. Well, I decided to grow it on the bottom of my face rather than the top.
Just turn your head the other way up, you'll be all right.
Although I didn't have much choice in the not growing on the top because it's receding quite severely. But
It's all right. It's all right. So you've done your TV stuff, and I want to jump onto your podcast because Inside the Beautiful Game.
Yes.
Now I remember when we met for your wedding.
Yes.
We talked about podcasting, and you came up with this amazing idea for a podcast, and I gave you my idea for a podcast, which was just sitting there talking to people. But
which is essentially what mine is as well.
Yeah.
But so tell us about Inside the Beautiful Game.
Well, I always wanted to do a podcast.
Plug it, Dan. Plug it.
Okay. Let me think. I always wanted to do a podcast, and like a couple of friends at work, we were keen on the idea of, getting together and discussing football and what's been happening in the news and stuff. But there are so many excellent podcasts out there, like the Football Ramble, Guardian Football Weekly, the Totally Football Show. There's absolutely no point. You can't compete with those guys. And okay, we're not doing it to compete, but you do want to get listeners and you do want to establish it. So I thought, right, what's no one really doing? And they're not sitting down and chatting to people about their lives in football. Subsequently, before I actually managed to get mine out, the Football Ramble started doing it, and Jamie Carragher started doing it as well, which is really annoying because he's way more successful than I'll ever be.
So put yourself down.
I think he wins this one. He's got one He's got Champions League winners medal. I've not got one yet. They may have one. Who knows?
But is he a paddy instructor?
He might be, but probably not. Probably not. I suspect he isn't. I imagine they probably don't allow footballers to do too much scuba diving, actually.
Do they not? They don't let them go skiing, do
they? And most sports, professional athletes aren't allowed to do... Lewis Hamilton's a rarity, and he's actually allowed to do some fairly dangerous sports because he's Lewis Hamilton, and he wouldn't sign his Mercedes contract without it. So, But when you're a 6-time world champion, you can get away with doing whatever the hell you like.
We'll bench that, because I want to move on to ask you about your thoughts on Lewis Hamilton, but we'll come back to that.
Because I know you two desperately want to talk about sports, and I can sit back and make stupid comments. Just let's go back to your beautiful game, because I want to know. Because I actually think that. Oh, sorry, I just kicked the captain. Sorry, Captain.
Captain's a dog for those watching in black and white.
Yes.
I love the idea of you talking to people that are within football that might not be in the forefront of football.
Yeah. So my idea was I'd talk to anyone who has made a career in football or has some involvement in the game. So not just players or ex-players or coaches. I wanted to talk to journalists. I wanted to talk to guys who set up their own podcasts. Guys like the Football Ramble, like the Anfield Rap, to physios, photographers, whoever it may be. Actually, one of the third or fourth episodes I did was with a guy from Singapore. His name's Hatta Aziz. He runs a website called Boot Hype.
Yeah.
And he basically reviews football boots and football kits. And he had a corporate life. He got bored of it and decided this is what I want to do. He really loved football boots, so he set up his own website. And he came into the studio to do a sit down with John as part of one of our shows. And I thought, you know what, let's have a chat. So we had a half-hour chat, and I thought, right, there we go. There's a podcast in that.
And I really enjoyed that episode, more so from the type of content that you're giving, because it's not easy to get hold of, your Steven Gerrards or your Jose's to sit and have a chat. But even if you had access to all of those, you've heard it before, you've seen it before. It's the same stuff, just asked in different ways. Whereas what you're doing is going for the people that, like someone like that that's doing, boot reviews, or like having even a squad player or someone that's roundabout associated with the game, because you never hear those stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'll hear something about something you thought you knew about, but from a different angle, and think, wow, that's a really interesting take.
Yeah.
And that's what's good about it.
Yeah, so I had another one. A guy got in touch with me. He runs a football academy in Singapore, and he was taking 3 teenage Singaporeans over to FC Nantes for a football experience, and he wondered, would we be interested in documenting it on the show? And I said, if you can get the footage and everything, then sure, come in and chat to us. And I did a quick search about his background, and it sounded like it had an interesting career. I said, would you be interested in recording a podcast episode? He said, yeah, absolutely. So he was at Auxerre during Auxerre's sort of golden period, but he never quite made it into the first team. I think he might have made a couple of appearances, but was generally in the reserves. So it was interesting to talk to someone what it's like from the perspective of a struggling footballer, someone who worries from contract to contract about are they going to get another one, how to make ends meet. Because you look at footballers and you think, oh, they're all rich, successful, famous, flash cars, amazing watches, blah blah. The reality is most footballers aren't like that.
And it'll be interesting. What is the percentage of footballers that are actually at that level, that elite level, where they can afford to go and buy the gold watches and the very much. Yeah, I reckon. If you take football as a whole from around the world, it is a very small percentage.
Yeah, really. I mean, you think of the sheer volume of people that play football professionally. Yeah. It's a huge number, but the elite is still very small. I think it depends on who you are, though, because you can still be elite in your country, which means you'll get really good advertising and sponsorship deals and stuff.
And that's the interesting thing. And we'll get, once again, it's called The Beautiful Game.
Inside the Beautiful Game. And when's it come out?
It comes out every Tuesday. Yeah, so the plan is to release it once a week with a different person in football or around football. And we've got a few good episodes lined up. Actually, one of the ones I recorded a couple of weeks ago.
Sorry, he's professional, you see, Dan, because he's got some already recorded.
Yeah.
Unlike us idiots who, when I go away next week, we've got nothing for 3 weeks.
But no one knows that.
No,
so it's okay.
We don't tell anybody. No. But what we'll do is we'll record some shows maybe this week.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's good that you've kept it secret.
Yeah, we'll keep it quiet.
So there's a guy called Alex Durich. who's Singapore international. Well, was a Singapore international. He's a legend in Singapore, and his story is one of the genuinely the most fascinating stories I've ever heard. So he was born in what was then Yugoslavia. He grew up playing football. He was a goalkeeper to start with, ended up as a striker for Singapore. His doctor,
what does that tell
as you do.
Quite. His doctor at the age of 12 told him to take up kayaking to help improve a medical condition. He then became the 8th best kayaker in the world by the age of 17.
Wow.
He served in the Yugoslav war. He had to escape the country as a refugee. He qualified for the Olympics in Barcelona. The story how he got there alone is worthy of a film. And then played football in Australia, China, eventually settled in Singapore, and he didn't become a Singapore citizen until he was 37. Made his debut at 37.
Shut the front
and
door.
ended up playing for Singapore for another, I think, at least 5 years.
Wow.
And he retired at the age of 44. And he's still based in Singapore now. He does a lot of charity work. It's just an incredible person and a really good outlook on life, because he's been through some horrible things.
Absolutely.
He lost his mother in the Civil War, and his father never spoke to him again after he represented Bosnia in the Olympic Games. Really, really sad. Honestly, there is a film or a documentary about his life to be made. If he was American... If he was an American citizen, if he'd come from Yugoslavia and become an American, there would be a story, a film about his life already.
But I think you could take from that, Dan, because I still think there's a chance for you then to play for Singapore. How long do you have to be there before you get your, citizenship?
Or equally,
what's that?
With your production background now, you could produce said film.
Well, that's it. Yeah. To be honest, I still
want to see Dan up front for Singapore.
Against
North Korea.
I don't think there's much of a chance of me playing for Singapore, and I won't go into the reasons why.
Yeah.
And it's. Well, it is mainly because of my lack of footballing ability, but there's another reason as well. Look out for a fella called Jordan Webb, and you might find the reason there.
Okay.
But the story, I'd love to. And Fraser, who used to live here in Phuket,
I know
Fraser
Fraser.
Fraser Morton, who runs Far Features. We chatted about it the other day, so you never know. If we could find someone who'd give us the backing to it, maybe we could make it. It's a story that should be told.
It's a great story.
Just taking that note, though.
And that episode's out early January, I think.
Oh,
wow. God, you're
he's way ahead. Yeah. Get the Christmas rush out of the way. I mean, you obviously really enjoy what you're doing with the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, and as Jay and I do sort of as well, technical issues aside.
I hate it.
But in terms of, from a media perspective, for me personally, I love doing this. I love the podcast. I absolutely loved being on the radio. I really enjoyed it. I don't have that much, not that I'm going down that road anyway, but I don't have that much interest or draw to be on TV. I mean, if the opportunity came up, I would probably take it. But I
probably not. To be fair,
yeah, probably not. But I much prefer.
I mean, Dan gets away with it because he's slightly handsome.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure hairy gingers are allowed. Although you're not so much ginger anymore.
Well, it's working with you. It's
definitely greying.
Yeah. It's spending time with this idiot.
Definitely greying. Gone grey.
So, question.
I was trying to be kind
to you. Would you prefer to be on the TV side, sort of front and centre, or the radio, the podcasting side?
To be honest,
not really bothered.
I wouldn't really be that bothered. I listen to Mark Chapman on Radio 5 Live. He's absolutely amazing. I think he's one of the best broadcasters out there. He is phenomenal.
And he came from Radio 1 as a news reporter. That's all he was the news guy on Scott Mills' show.
Yeah. And he's utterly brilliant. And you can tell the passion he has for his job. And if I had the opportunity later in life to do something like that, I would more than happily do that. It's not about the TV, like being on TV. It's just, I just want to be involved in sport, but I want to be involved from a presenting point of view rather than a production point of view. That probably speaks volumes about my ego, but I'm okay with that, to be honest.
It's not fair. It's about going for what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed with Chappers...
all right, don't know him personally. Mr. Chapman, please.
Chappers, let me give him a call. He is doing a fair bit more TV work now, so he has branched and really made it with the radio and doing the 5 Live Sport. And now, because I guess off the back of that, is doing a lot more TV slots and what have you. So
it's like as John said, it's the natural progression for a lot of people. I think Gary Lineker, before he went on Match of the Day, started out on the radio, and he was dreadful. And he was really bad when he started doing Match of the Day. Really bad. Yeah. But now look at him. He's a really, really good broadcaster.
What it does, you also get people that are on TV that have tried to do radio and have been very bad at radio, and it hasn't come across. And it works both ways.
It's interesting how different...
it's a different genre, and it's a different way to do things. And I like the radio stuff, but I also like TV stuff as well. Not that I'd be on either. That's why I started a little podcast. You've got a sponsor for your podcast, which Russell was very excited about and wanted me to do some sort of horrible comical thing with it, which I haven't, which I might do it post.
Feel free to plug your sponsor because we're here.
Okay, so a good friend of mine in Singapore, he he works for Microsoft, but he also has his own company on the side.
Oh, so it's a mate.
Oh, we should have done it then.
God. Yeah. I was trying to be really professional. Wasn't? Oh, sorry, Captain.
So he has a drinks company called Arepa, and it basically uses natural products from New Zealand that creates. It's not like an energy drink, but it's kind of supposed to be invigorating for the brain and stimulating for the brain and stuff like that.
Very interesting name.
Yes.
Yeah. It could be said very wrongly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's Arepa. So I got it wrong when I was recording the little inserts to start
that would
with.
be very good.
No.
We are sponsored by Arepa.
Yeah. That would be a completely different show.
Yeah, it would not go down very well.
So he's very keen to bring it into Southeast Asia.
Well, if he wants to bring it to Phuket, I know a platform that he could sponsor us.
Well, there we go. So it's more of a product association rather than necessarily a sponsorship. But so they give me a
free
boost.
Raper.
Mate, yes. No, they don't. They give me a boost on their social media platforms, and I basically link it to my podcast.
Yeah, well, that's
well.
what I mean. Look, the thing with everyone I mean, that's why one of the things getting you on here, we'll be cross-promoting your podcast on ours. I mean, ours is, like I said...
I mean, we're going to smash the fuck out of Fox with this when it's done.
Well, we haven't got any podcasts, so...
Smash the fuck out of a Fox.
Not of a Fox, but of Fox Sports.
This is getting weird.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting very weird. Right, let's move on to... Right, so Inside the Beautiful Game comes out on Tuesdays... Hold on.
No, have you got notes? You're looking at your phone. Have you made notes for this?
No, I haven't. I'm not going to be able to remember Inside the Beautiful Game, so it's on my podcast.
For the love.
Oh, it's good that you've subscribed.
Well, there is yeah.
Thanks.
Have you voted? Have you voted for him yet?
Voted for what?
Well, two. Have you voted for Danny? And have you voted for us?
What am I voting for?
It's the Great British Podcast, isn't it? And I know technically not British podcast, but I reckon as British people,
fuck not?
We could just go for it anyway. So I sent out a link to a lot of people, put it on Facebook and Twitter. And
I haven't seen that.
You've been voted for.
Have we?
I think that was me.
Yeah.
You voted
so
for our own
got two
podcast.
votes, yourself and me. And absolutely. You should too.
Yeah, absolutely you should. I voted under a different name though, so
just set up a bunch of new email accounts.
They didn't know it was me, but they will now. I also suspect I won't win.
Yeah.
But it's more promotion, and if it gets a few votes coming in and going, oh, what the hell's this? Then some other people might listen to it.
How do you enjoy Singapore?
I love Singapore. I honestly thought I would go there for about 2 years, and then the aim would be to move on. And come January the 6th, I'll have been there 8 years.
Is it 8 years you've been away for?
8 years, yeah. And it's flown by.
It really has, wow.
Earlier this year, I was trying to work out how long, and I was convinced it was still about 5 years. And then I thought, hang on a minute, no, it's 2019. Jesus, I've almost been here 8 years.
And is there any... do you want to go back to the UK and do this kind of stuff in the UK? And obviously not the Jayleshark and Friends podcast, but do you want to go back and do the presenting and the producing, whatever, in the UK? Are you very happy in Asia?
I would have done, but the current political situation in the UK...
You don't want to go
I just don't want to go anywhere near the place at the moment.
Okay.
It's just not it doesn't look a happy place to live. Look, if I actually did apply for a job at the BBC earlier this year and got nowhere, which is a real shame.
I think you've got to be there, haven't you?
It definitely helps. Yeah. It really does help. But if a job for the BBC came up, or BT Sport or Sky, that was just too good to turn down, of course we'd go back. But ideally, no. I mean, I really like Asia. I've been here for a long time now, and not in any particular rush to leave. The great thing about Singapore is a brilliant place to live. Everything's easy. Everything works.
I love Singapore.
Got a lot of good friends there. Met my wife there, and it's a great place to travel from. I'm here in Phuket. It's an hour and a half on a plane. Mad, and it's affordable to get to, and so it's
not affordable when you're there.
No, God no, Lord no. Especially not working in the media. Blimey, we don't get paid particularly well, but it's a wonderful place to live, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
No, I've always wanted to live in Singapore, but the cost of living is the one thing that puts me off. But just the way, for me, I mean, obviously with the kids, just the stuff to do there, the smoothness of everything, the cleanliness of everything, the politeness.
Very safe.
The way shit works.
Yeah, I mean, it just, look, Phuket's lovely. As I roll my eyes with the nice beaches and stuff, but maybe I'm tainted in Phuket. Do you two want to start talking about sport now?
Well, can do.
Can do. Fire away.
Who's going to win the league? The Premiership or the
Premier
EPL
League.
or
Premier League.
Premier League.
I don't want to tempt fate, but
no, don't go there.
You're both okay.
We're both Liverpool fans.
They're both Liverpool fans for their sins.
We are looking very good at the moment.
Yep.
But it's just be nice to get a few more clean sheets. But it's still December. There's a lot more games to go. But if you look at the points tallies that have won the league lately, like City had 101 not last season before, they had 98 last season. For them to get to a 100-point tally, they basically have to win every single game between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
And Liverpool can afford to drop points in, I think, 5 games. I think it's 2 draws and 3 defeats, or the other way around. So
he's done his research.
But also look at Leicester, right? And it's unthinkable, but at the same time,
but they've done it before, so it's not that unthinkable.
Yeah.
And the beauty for Leicester is they don't have any European football,
and exactly. Yeah.
So they have
the
basically
wonderful
weeks.
irony. Well, basically, Rodgers is doing again what he did with us.
Would literally be the worst thing. It would be the most Liverpool
yeah.
thing in the world for Liverpool to lose the league to Leicester City, managed by Brendan Rodgers, and I fully expect it to happen.
Yeah.
I apologise that I started these two off.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
All right, moving on from football quickly.
I was
Lewis
about
Hamilton.
Yes.
So is he going to sign for Mercedes, or is he going to fuck off to Ferrari?
I really think he'll probably sign for
I would
Mercedes.
be amazed if he went to Ferrari.
I mean, Ferrari are the name in motorsport, and Lewis Hamilton is up there with the greatest that sport has ever seen, and I can see him wanting to drive for Ferrari, to have Ferrari on his CV, and who would blame him? I mean, they are motorsport for a large portion of people. I think he's very smart, Lewis Hamilton. Does all his own contract negotiations, which I didn't know until fairly recently. And I think he's probably using this just to eke a few more quid out of Mercedes, and they'd be mad not to pay him. But I think for me, I don't know, there's something about Ferrari. Having tried to deal with them on a professional basis, they're not nice to work with. They are horrible. And until recently, so this year was their new big open start about being open with the media, and they blackballed us at one of the very first races of the season, and we barely got back in after that. So I really hope he doesn't go. And actually, so we had a sit down with Lewis at the Austrian Grand Prix. So our presenter Matthew Marsh was sitting chatting with him, and the first ever race I went to was his first ever Grand Prix in Melbourne, 2007.
Oh, cool.
And for me, it was amazing to see a black guy driving a Formula 1 car, because it never happened before.
Was he the first?
He was, and still the only.
Yeah.
You didn't see people who looked like us driving F1 cars. You certainly don't see people who look like me, my size.
You wouldn't fit.
No,
I was just going to say you wouldn't fit.
Definitely not.
Especially not with the hair.
You're more of a stock car guy, I think. I go Arena
Monster
Essex.
trucks.
Monster truck. That's definitely where I'm going. So I just felt, at the end of the interview, I felt compelled to tell him, say, look, Lewis, I just want to say I was at your first ever race, and it was amazing to see someone who represented who I am behind the wheel of an F1 car, and I just want to thank you for that. And he was you could tell he was genuinely touched. And he's like, oh, really, is that true? I said, yeah, it was. He said, look, I really appreciate that. Thanks very much for telling me. So he asked me what my background was, where my heritage was, and everything like that. And we only had a chat for about a minute or so, and actually managed to get it on camera, which is really quite nice. Awesome. So I have it for prosperity. Not prosperity, that's the wrong word. Whatever I have it for on record. Yep. And it was. He gets a lot of bad press, Lewis Hamilton, and I think his personality means he has to be very guarded, because if he ever lets his true personality out, he gets pelters from so many people, and I really feel sorry for him.
That's the way with any sort of top sports person, and especially if you link that with the British press. When you're down here, they build you up. Oh, look at this new up and coming, and as soon as you're there, they just can't wait to knock you back down.
But isn't that with any? It's not just sporting people. That's
it's anyone. Anybody in the British, any British celebrity, they love building them up, and they love.
I don't think it's just British. I think there's a lot of other countries that do the same thing.
I guess we see it more because we read the British press.
Football's obviously your first love, and then where does it go down from there?
I love pretty much all sports.
Is there? No, come on. There must be a sport you don't like.
I'm not a big fan of equestrian. Let's put it that way.
Girls in joppers? What's wrong with you, man?
There's also men in joppers. Don't.
I've been divorced now 3 years. I'm happy to take men or girls in joppers.
or even the horse.
They're in joppers. I'm having them.
I don't get... Well, I don't get it. I just...
Horse racing.
When you mean a question, do you mean the dressage bit, or when we're galloping across the fields, jumping over the
whole thing? But if the
thing?
Olympic Games is on, I'll watch it. I love the Olympic. The Olympic Games to me is the greatest thing.
See, I find the Olympics really boring.
It's amazing.
I love the Olympics.
And I only realise why I might love the Olympics so much, because actually looking through the date of the first ever Olympic Games, it was June the 23rd, 1896, and my birthday is June the 23rd.
1896, you're
yes,
old.
I look particularly good. You know what they say?
Well.
Black don't crack.
I've said something different. Anyway.
So it was always a dream of mine to work the Olympic Games.
And you went to...
And I got to do it. I did London 2012. And
that was a Games to go to.
It was having worked and witnessed an Olympic Games in the city you were born in your home country. It was unbelievable. From start to finish, it was, up until this year and got married, the best experience
I
of
like how
my
he snuck
entire
that
life.
one in.
He did slip
Yeah.
that one in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It was
but
just.
even the walking race, that's shit. Come on, when you can't with your heels over
Well, no, hang on.
But if it's in the Olympics, I'll watch it.
Yeah, but also here's the thing. In terms of Olympic sports, where do you stand on having things like football, rugby, golf, maybe tennis in the Olympics?
I don't think they should be in because
do I.
they're not the pinnacle of your sport.
Exactly.
The Olympic Games should be the pinnacle of your sport, which and
100%.
none of those sports are. You know, you saw how little interest a lot of the golfers had in Rio 2016 when they used Zika as an excuse not to go. It wasn't going to affect them in any way, shape or form. They just didn't want to go.
Yeah.
But I reckon they'll all be in Tokyo because I think they saw it and thought, we're missing out on something here. And golf might not be in the Olympics forever, and it could end after Tokyo, so it means there might only ever be 2 Olympic gold medals given out for it. And as a professional golfer, you'll want to get your hands on one.
Would it be better if they didn't do like 18-hole golf? They just set up the driving range. They had target golf, and all you had to do is just drive at targets.
Yeah.
That's much better.
To be fair, I think it'd be better if they just did crazy golf, to be honest.
Crazy golf, yeah.
But I think the Olympics should be for sports where that would be the pinnacle. So I think squash should be part of the Olympics, which it still baffles me that it's not.
Well, when you say it should be the pinnacle, so you're saying because there's a World Championship golf tournament,
Well, there's
whatever,
the Masters, there's the Open.
so that's better than the Olympics thing.
That's
winning the rugby or the football World Cup. That is
Sevens, I think, slightly different.
possibly.
I think
but, I mean, the World Sevens tournament is pretty high profile, although it's not. Yeah,
But isn't the World Sevens tournament? Isn't the Sevens tournament just an excuse for people to go to stadiums and get pissed up and watch some guys run around who didn't make it in their own
basically
15s? But surely that's what it is.
No, because there's a lot of skill in sevens as well.
There is a lot of skill.
No,
but
he means the people in the crowd.
People in the crowd.
Yeah.
The people in the crowd are just there for a piss up.
Absolutely. There are some people who go just to watch rugby, one or two at least. But
yeah, also, it's an annual thing, so I can understand. Yeah, the 4-year cycle for the Olympics. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But things like rugby union, football.
But basketball then should that not, because there's got the NBA and that's it.
92 Dream Team, right?
Yeah, I mean. There is a basketball world championship, but basketball's been part of the Olympic Games for a long time. Yeah. So I think that kind of has a bit of an exemption.
And it's not a mainstream. I'm going to get shot down. It's not a mainstream sport, basketball.
Surely it is. In Asia, it's massive.
It is and it isn't.
Did you see the fight between the Philippines and Australia basketball?
Oh, I didn't see that. But the Philippines, they are mad for their basketball. They love it.
There was this mass brawl between the Philippines. I think it was Philippines and Australia. It was.
See what you done there.
And on that note, Russell. Okay, so there's so apart from equestrian,
but yeah, if it's in the Olympics, I'll watch it. Not really. I really like sport. I'm not a huge MotoGP fan, but I'll sit and watch if it's on. If there's nothing else on,
I tried to get into it,
but it's actually genuinely really exciting. It's much better. It is more exciting than F1.
It's more exciting because more shit happens.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's people sliding off and all. I've got a lot more respect for those guys.
I mean, those guys, seriously, they take it to the limit every single time. They are amazing.
Obscene.
Rallycross was my thing. I used to go and watch. I used to love Rallycross back in the day on TV on a Saturday afternoon.
I miss Grandstand. They should bring Grandstand back.
Grandstand,
even though the BBC basically have tiddlywinks and dwarf throwing as their sports rights now.
Nothing wrong with a bit of dwarf throwing. Dwarf throwing was in the Olympics. You'd watch it.
Ask the England rugby team about 2011. They loved a bit of dwarf throwing.
In fact, I'm not sure out of you two who would win that, because you're quite strong, Russell, and Dan's got a bit of girth behind him.
I'm not going to say any more about that.
Dwarf and find out.
You know what they say?
Yeah. So if you happen to be a dwarf and
you
don't mind being tossed off,
come and be tossed off by Dan and Russell.
It'll be a day you'll never forget.
Yeah. Live long.
I have no idea how long we've been recording for, and I don't really care because I'm
having a great time.
Yeah, no, I am.
Let's keep going.
Hurrah! I want to ask you, wrestling, as in
WWE.
Yes. What's your thoughts about that?
I used to love it as a kid,
but
watched
not
it
anymore.
all the time.
Then I grew up.
Yeah, largely.
Because the reason I'm asking is I applied for a job once that was based in Singapore.
To be a wrestler?
No, not to be a wrestler. I'd love to be a wrestler.
I would pay.
What would be your name?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, Danny O, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably just go for Jayleshark because I've made that
the
brand
Shark
now.
Edge or something. You've got to twist it.
But the thing is, there was a shark back in the day, and he was called Shark Boy, and it was a comedy.
That is a terrible name for a wrestler.
He was a terrible character as well. And it was a terrible gimmick. I'm not sure. God, that's a good question.
And would you be a good guy or would you be?
No, I'd be a heel.
A heel.
I'd definitely be a heel. And it was funny when I did my Muay Thai fight for charity for Black Tie Muay Thai. I actually did the whole thing. I came in and said, I'm going to be the heel character, and I did the whole walk-in. The whole thing was about being a heel. So I was a bad guy, and this young, handsome Brazilian guy called Leo, I wanted him to be the good guy. Now I wanted him to win, which he did because he kicked my fucking ass. She's ridiculous.
I really wanted you to win, so this is really convenient for me.
Yeah, it's convenient that you are so much better than me. So much.
This
better
actually
for me.
works.
No, I want to be a heel character, but I want to be a traditional heel because I don't want to be a cool kind of a liked heel.
Yeah,
I want
you
to
wanna
be a
be-
real.
yeah, everyone hates me.
I want to be everyone hates me. I want everyone to
That shouldn't be
dislike me.
difficult.
No, it's very easy to do, and I use it a lot when I do my MC, and it doesn't go down very well. To be honest, people don't really get it. I applied for a job in Singapore for the WWE at the time, who they still are, to put on the events there, but I didn't speak Mandarin or Cantonese or one of the two, so
Minor detail.
Yeah,
you
it might
know,
hold you back a little bit in Singapore.
and I probably wasn't beautiful.
No, it would just be a language thing, obviously.
Let's get into your bucket list.
So many things. So many things.
Well,
Actually,
we saw
I
on
made
your
a list.
Yeah, Russell, you got making a list.
I made a list.
Checking it
twice.
twice.
Have you two been naughty or nice? I think I know the answer to that
Oh,
question.
he's really
to be
got a
honest.
list.
No,
You
I
are
did.
So well
Gee,
prepared.
crikey.
Well, no, because when you asked me, I started
Because it was
thinking
the
about
only
it.
question that we've got.
Yeah, basically, it's the only prep I had to
the
do.
one
which is-
thing we've prepped
yeah.
with.
How little do you have to prep?
My
This little.
God.
Yeah, there's lots of things. Honestly, I want to do a lot of things.
No, go
fuck
for it.
yeah.
Go for it.
Should we
Let's go
start
for
a new
it.
podcast? Actually,
Well,
this could be our backup podcast while you're away.
Should we-
Daniel's bucket list.
Do I need to put some background music on? Post edit.
You might have to be
Okay, go on.
honest. So I broke it down to a couple of categories, or three categories. So sporting ones.
He's put some effort
So
into this.
professional.
Yeah. I don't mess around. When
do you
I do something, you know.
All right, before we get into this, because this is going to take some time, would you like another cup of tea?
It probably won't take that long.
Okay.
So
checking.
the obvious choices for sport and bucket list: FIFA World Cup.
Which World Cup? Where would you like to go? Is there any, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't really matter. I'm really annoyed at myself that I didn't go to Brazil in 2014 because I think if there's anywhere you want to go to a World Cup, it's going to be Brazil. So
Would you be
or
able
Germany,
to,
Germany as well.
Would Fox be able to get you, or is this kind of a personal thing?
This would be a person. I did do the Euros in France in 2016, which was weird because we didn't have any rights. But I was sent there anyway for 6 weeks, and it was awesome. I had a wonderful time. We couldn't even get to any games from a professional point of view, so we basically did it just speaking to journalists and fans around the games. But it was still an amazing experience. So yeah, working one would be good too.
Okay.
And there's obviously things like Champions League final. What else we got? Wimbledon. Got the Copa America.
What, Wimbledon, AFC Wimbledon, or
Either,
Milton
to be
Keynes
honest.
now?
I wouldn't go to
No,
MK
fuck
Dons.
Sorry, on Wimbledon. What about Roland Garros?
I've been.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you then.
That was on your bucket
that was,
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
I'd love to
proper-
go to Roland Garros.
Yeah, I
like
went.
you,
We
Russell.
went
Oh,
into.
he can fuck me over twice because he did 2003 Rugby World Cup
Yeah,
final as
went
well.
went
And
into.
Ashes. You've done a lot.
I've done the Ashes in Australia 3 times. I think
3 times, Russell.
I've
Do you
seen.
know how many-
I've seen 2 absolute floggings. But I was there in 2010-11 when we won 3-1.
Happy days.
And I was there day 4 in Sydney when Mitchell Johnson walked out and the Barmy Army serenaded him to the wicket. He bowls to the left, he bowls to the right. He puffed his chest out, said, right, I'm going to show you lads, I'm going to score some runs. Chris Chemlett walked back to his mark, comes charging in, splatters his stumps absolutely everywhere. Mitchell Johnson's head slumps to his chest and the Barmy Army serenade him all the way back to the pavilion. It was brilliant. It was an amazing, that's one of my favourite sporting memories.
Yeah.
On that, yeah, going to Copa America in South America would be something truly amazing because they love their football
Well,
and they are
you were talking about that, weren't
Yeah,
you?
no, I always
crazy
wanted to go and
passionate
see River Plate
Plate.
versus
Boca Juniors.
yeah, because I think I struggle with my bucket list, and one of mine was always part of me wants to go and see the big derbies of each country.
Yeah.
Although that Argentina and Brazil are the same country, but the big derbies of football within the regions, but then I have a problem which I hate crowds and I hate people.
Yeah, maybe
So
these aren't for
Not
you.
particularly bothered about
'Cause
football.
actually, it was interesting because I listened back to your last podcast with what's his fame for the Ramble? I can't remember his name.
Andy Brassel.
Yes, and he was mentioning about Galatasaray and Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
And I've actually been to the Fenerbahce
wow, nice.
Stadium for a Champions League game, and he is right. Although he was talking about Galatasaray, the sound in the stadium is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And we got there.
Riotous.
You were there 3 hours before the game even kicked off, sat in the stadium.
Amazing.
Behind the goals with the Fenerbahce fans. It was, one of the most craziest experiences of my life. And then they do this thing where they all just jump up and down, and the whole stadium just looks like it's moving. Unbelievable. Anyway, so that was, I think the Boca Juniors or the Copa.
Yeah, Copa America.
Yeah, that'd be
So
worth
yes, I
doing.
mean things like that. They're experiences that they'll stay with you forever,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to do. I love sport, as I've said, and there's so many sporting events out there that I just desperately want to go to. Super Bowl, obviously.
Yeah,
because
oh,
one-
Super
one-
I'd
Bowl.
like to do the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
yeah,
I know I'm not a
Definitely
huge NFL fan, but I got into it
Have
working.
you been to a live NFL game?
I haven't, and I'd like to go to that as well.
Yeah, I saw the Redskins play when I lived in the States when I was 13.
Yeah, I'd love to go see an NFL game.
Sorry, I went to see a baseball game as well. That is the most boring thing in the world to go. I mean, I don't like watching cricket, but baseball. Oh my god!
Baseball's a really weird sport in that for the regular season, it's generally pretty dull, and as soon as the playoffs come round, the games are amazing, and I don't understand how. Okay, obviously the teams that get to the latter stage of the playoffs are the best teams, but the quality of the game's absolutely amazing. And we show baseball at work, so every morning, when the playoffs are on, we come into work, stick it on the TV and watch it. And we've seen some crazy games.
When it comes to baseball, I'm a glory hunter. I wait for the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoffs are superb. I'd love to go to the NBA Finals. I'm a huge basketball fan. I know you don't like it at all, but I absolutely love it.
I get the attraction with basketball. It's not my.
I think it's an amazing sport, and what those guys do, incredible. And it's just amazing. You watch them on TV, and they all look the same size because they're all so massive, and you actually see them in person. You're some big lads.
Yeah.
Wimbledon, see the tennis. I'm lucky. I've been to the other 3 Grand Slams.
Okay.
I went to the Aussie Open 2004. I actually went back
so you've got to do the Grand
2005. Slam. Yeah, did the French in 2016, and was actually technically haven't done Flushing Meadows because it was the pre-US Open tournament. But they opened the whole thing up for fans, and you can go down for free. And it's really good to see that exhibition matches. We saw Djokovic practice. We saw Federer practice, all for nothing. It was fantastic. So that was really good.
Tennis.
Oh, I love tennis.
I'm not into tennis at all.
I'm not a massive fan, but I really like watching the slams. And a good tennis match is hard to beat sometimes. Like the epics between Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, Murray as well. Yeah, they're just some 2008 final. They are unbelievable, and how these guys can push themselves for 5 hours at that level is just remarkable.
Did you what about snooker?
I watched snooker. I actually went to the Crucible when I was at Sheffield in Sheffield. So we went down. We saw Peter Ebdon, who actually went on to win the title that year, and we saw Stephen Hendry as well, so who's still rated as the greatest snooker player of all time. So
is
pretty
he really?
Lucky. Yeah, well, he's won more world championships than anyone else. He's still got 7, I think he has. I love darts. I'd love to go to darts at Ali Pali. That is definitely up there on my bucket list.
I've got no interest really in darts as a sport. I would love to go to the Ali Pali for it, though.
I really like playing darts, so it was all right too. But I'd love to go to Ali Pali. Sport would be huge on my list of bucket list options, but there's a lot of travel. I love travelling as well.
Have you done a Lions tour?
Yes. I did 2013 in Australia. That was epic.
Yeah, I'm
absolutely
thinking of doing South Africa.
Yeah, me too. So I turned 40 in 2021, and annoyingly,
isn't he?
Yeah, I am.
Didn't age well though, did he?
No, it's fair.
He had a hard paper out.
I did actually, working in
a milk round, wasn't it?
I had that as well. So the first test always used to be around my birthday, and they've moved the tour back now, which is really annoying, but I still think I'll go anyway. So a few friends of mine who are turning 40 in 2021, they want to do the same thing. So I think we're just going to plan together and do something down there. And obviously there's so much to South Africa, which is a bucket list country of mine, because you got Table Mountain, you've got Cape Town, Joburg, you've got the safari, you've got the vineyards, you've got the beaches, you've got diving with great white sharks. It's just so much there you can do. And South Africa.
We need to talk off air about all this.
Absolutely. But I mean, travel, Galapagos, desperately want to go. As a scuba diver, there can be nowhere better really in the world to go than the Galapagos.
When did you last go diving out of interest? I imagine you don't do much.
In the Maldives. When I was on my honeymoon.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So, I don't get to do it anywhere near as much as I'd like, which is a real shame. Should do more diving, but this year...
I haven't been diving in years.
I haven't had a good dive for about 3 years.
I was going to say something, but I'll move on. Galapagos, Cocos Islands for the same thing. Great shark sort of territory. South America. I desperately want to go to South America. I just think it's an amazing country looking from the outside in. You hear so many great stories.
Mexico, just on the borders. Lovely place.
I've been to Mexico. Really enjoyed it. I've been to Nicaragua in Central America, which was awesome. Friends of mine got married there. I did their wedding there. It was superb.
Cool.
But South America really appeals. The idea of just going to Argentina, just getting a good red wine, a steak, and just going to the Bombonera to watch Boca, or going to see River Plate, would just be awesome. Yeah, and there's so many places around the world I haven't seen, obviously, because it's a huge planet. So many options, not enough time, nowhere near enough money. Canada, doing a road trip across America, going to India. We were thinking of actually doing Tonga for our honeymoon and doing the humpback whale swim, but never got round to organise it in time, which is a real shame. So that is definitely on the list as well at some point. Cool. From a professional point of view, what I really want to do is document like a continent, but go around experiencing football from a fan perspective, but also food culture as well that exists around football. So, growing up in the UK, we have pies and we have and bovril, but in every country, they're going to have their own different food
what do
culture.
They serve at the because when I went to see Fenerbahce play, it was sunflower seeds, which is really weird. The whole place was and at the end there was just piles of sunflower seeds,
which they do in Spain as well. It's quite common, I think, in European football that they just mountains and mountains of sunflowers. And you got Spain, they have the bocadillos. Basically, everyone takes a sandwich to the football, and at half time, the stadium just reverberates to the sound of silver foil being unwrapped as everyone piles into the sandwich.
They're heroin addicts,
possibly. Never know. I mean, 80,000 heroin addicts.
Why not?
Would be an interesting place.
It would be.
It would explain why sometimes the football stadiums are a little quiet. But then you go to Germany where you've got your pretzels and your beer. You can take beer into the stadium, which you can't do. And watching football in Germany is an amazing thing. But to bring all that together in a documentary, because I was a massive fan of Anthony Bourdain, may he rest in peace. What a sad loss to the world he was. And his Parts Unknown series is one of the best TV series out there. And I would love to do something like that, because I love food, as you can probably tell looking at me. It doesn't work well on radio, but yeah. And so, if I could combine travel, food and sport in one TV show, if someone out there wants to give me the money to make that, I'd be really, really grateful.
You do cook a lot. You do post a lot of your lovely pictures of your food.
I do. It's mainly as a counterpoint to Tash and her dog pictures.
And I kind of love it because there's not a vegan in sight.
No, Lord, no.
And I love it. And I absolutely appreciate everything you do with those food pictures. I might not like them all the time, but I tell you what, they are loved all the time.
I love cooking. I really do. I find it pretty therapeutic. I like entertaining for people. We had a few friends come over for sort of late Thanksgiving, early Christmas lunch, because they're not going to be in Singapore for Christmas. So it was Anya, myself, and two other couples, friends of ours, and we did turkey, we did all the trimmings and everything like that. And one of the couples brought ham, one brought dessert, and we just sat around and had a really nice sort of late sort of Sunday lunch, and it was brilliant. And I just really like cooking. I like doing Thai, whatever. I'll try and turn my hand to anything. And people say, how do you do it? Just follow the recipes. It seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah, no, but I love the idea of that, of you going around the world, looking at the different foods that they're serving inside the stadium, outside the stadiums. I think that's a great idea.
And just, what people do before games. In the UK, people go to the pub. They'll have a few beers and they'll chat nonsense, blah, blah. And I assume it's probably the same in most places around the world, because alcohol and sport generally go together pretty well. But not all countries have an alcohol culture. Malaysia, Indonesia, for example, Muslim countries, perhaps not so much drink. There will be some, but considerably less. So what do they do before the game? What's their experience? Actually, Indonesia,
because there are pretty strict routines for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. But there will be similarities, but there'll be big differences as well. And I think that'd be amazing to document. I'd also love to do a documentary on Indonesian football in general, because that's mad. I mean, those guys are mad. They're insane when it comes to football. And I think that's a story that really needs to be told. I remember I was sent over to cover Liverpool's pre-season trip to Jakarta, and I was in the press conference room, and this was, I think, the season after Brendan Rodgers had taken over. This was the season we almost won the league. And he walked in, and the flashlights just went off. And he's a Premier League manager, and even his eyes went wide. And he looked at me, and he's like, and I was like, yep, welcome to Asia. And then later that day, they had an open training session, and 50,000 people turned up.
Holy crap.
50,000 people with flares, banners, singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." And all the players were like, Jesus, this is a training session. What's going on?
Is that level of excitement just because they don't see, they've got a chance, or is that across the board?
You go see some of their league games. I mean, there's people get seriously hurt at a lot of Indonesian football matches. There is a level of insanity there that exists in very few places around the world when it comes to football. But I think to be able to tell the story of it would be incredible. And it's such a big, big country, and it's so diverse, and people with different backgrounds. I think it would be amazing to document that. And again, that's something I spoke to Fraser about. Just be nice to have the time and money, just be able to immerse ourselves in it and just bring that to life. Because I think if people saw that, they'd go, I want to experience some of that.
So, but you would then have to go and present this to someone who is a production company, who would then, or who would you give that to try to get the funding to do it?
That's the difficult thing. We'd have to go with a plan and explain how everything, what we were going to do. If in an ideal world, I could do it with Fox. But, we don't have the resources, or they've got, necessarily the manpower to be able to spare people for X amount of time to go off and do this. If ever came into money, then brilliant. This is what I'd love to do. I'd love to. I like telling stories, and as does Fraser, and he's got a brilliant eye for these things as well.
But then, so who supports these kind of things? And if you wanted to do that, so if there's an independent person, you want to go and do this independent is it a case of you getting sponsorship yourself?
Basically, you could approach something like Netflix or Hulu or HBO or something like that. Your chance of them agreeing would probably be quite small. But if you've got a good enough
storyboard,
if you've got a good enough story and you can do it, and you have the people on the ground who can help you, then maybe there's a chance that they would. I like telling stories, and I just like these experiences, and I desperately want to do that at some point in my life. And another idea I had, because I think Bali FC are probably the world's most desirable football club to play for if you're a footballer of a certain level, because who wouldn't want to live in Bali and play football? And they just recently won the Indonesian league.
Oh, wow.
And what a great place it would be to live. And just to do a year with them, just see what it's like, just to play for Bali FC would be amazing. And that's another thing. I have lots of ideas. But whether any of them will come to fruition, I don't know. At the moment, creatively a little stifled.
I got asked to Mark Lightfoot, who's a friend of mine, and I got asked to play for Phuket FC back in the day.
Huh.
When they first got into I think it was the second division in the Thai second division.
It was.
Yeah,
I formed the fan club.
Oh, there you go.
One of the fan clubs.
I was Mark Lightfoot, and I was asked to go and play for them.
I remember that.
Who
was the goalkeeper at in one of the international schools? He actually was a ex-professional goalkeeper, was head of their sports department. Martin Ware. So he almost ended up playing for them as well.
We were asked, but then we were told that we'd have to train every day at 5 o'clock. And we both had real jobs, and it was a case. I think we had to train all the way down south. Their training was right down by the
Snitch along, so on the way down there.
Yeah, and then both of us just said, I just couldn't be bothered. It wasn't. We weren't going to get paid or anything. They just wanted two white guys on there to try to kick the ball around. But it was nice to be asked.
But that was amazing being there at the birth of a football club.
Yeah,
how many people can actually say they were there when a football club was formed? And it was. So James Goido, who used to work for the Gazette as well as a freelance writer and covered a lot of sport for them. We said, all right, come on, we need to get some of the people behind this, because obviously the Thais would get Thai support, but there's a lot of expats living in Phuket, like in Singapore as well.
Yeah.
But, the people here like football. This is a great opportunity to go watch football, so we need to try and get people involved. So we set up the Phuket FC fan club. I think the South Sea Kirins or FC or whatever the hell we called ourselves. I can't remember now. Just started to get more and more people come in, and you could see with every passing week, especially in the second season when they actually got some decent players and were actually all right at football, more and more Western people would turn up, and the Thais obviously were coming in increasing numbers as well. And it was 50 baht to go watch a game, and you could take your own beer in. You could take your own cans of beer. It was amazing. I absolutely loved being part of that. And then there was another supporters club that formed. I think they called themselves the Mushy Peas. That was based down in Geelong, because the kit they wore a green kit, so they became Mushy Peas.
Excellent. And
actually became good friends with a girl. I think she lives in Korea at the moment, Kazira, who was from Phuket, and she's helped me translate for a load of Thai footballers over the years. So if I ever go on assignment and there's a Thai footballer that needs to be interviewed, or we go to Thailand, she's always with me as my translator. So good things have come as a result of that as well. And it was brilliant just being there at the start of a football club.
If not on a playing side, would you venture into management? We're being hypothetical, but
as management of a football team.
Yeah. I mean, we'd all like to sort of have a...
to be honest, I don't think anyone would want me to be managing a football team.
Again, it's hypothetical that any of us would ever play.
I'd love to give it a go. I don't think... I enjoy football from aesthetic point of view. I'm not really massively into tactics. I'll watch it and I appreciate it, but I'm not someone like Michael Cox or Jonathan Wilson who, go into these things in great detail, or Adrian Clark, who actually interviewed for the podcast, will be coming out a little bit later on. Who's a lovely fella, and perhaps didn't have the professional career that he would have wanted, but was at Arsenal at the time when Arsene Wenger first came in, and he trained with Dennis Bergkamp. But he's big into his tactical analysis and stuff as well. It just doesn't appeal to me that much. I just like watching football, and I can appreciate a well set up team and how they do things, but I'd just rather watch some really nice goals.
We're going to have to wrap it up, I'm afraid.
Well, before we do that,
you're going to ask your question?
Just because
he has a question.
I do.
This is a ridiculous question.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
Why change the habit of a lifetime?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very true.
Do you believe
in a thing called love?
Flat?
Good one.
I do not believe the Earth is flat.
Shit.
And I can't believe in 2019 there are people that genuinely do.
There is an excellent documentary on Netflix. I forget the name of it because it was that engrossing.
Is it called The Globe by any chance?
It probably is. No, but it's a documentary about the flat Earth movement, and the documentary makers.
Surely the flat Earth wouldn't move.
Yeah.
The globe moves. Oh, being attacked by some wind.
The documentary just follows the I forget the name of the guy that runs it. It's
Steve.
You've got to watch it.
Yeah, I'm
just for
sure.
the sheer shits and giggles. And they're trying to set up all these weird and wonderful experiments to prove how the Earth is flat. And it's just...
The thing that gets me is more and more people are buying into this.
That's the point.
And generally, this is a really scary point in human existence because never have we had more access to information, and we should be smarter than ever.
Yeah.
But I think we're currently living what I call the age of ignorance.
Yeah.
The human race seems to be mind-bogglingly stupid at the moment. So you've got flat earthers. Yeah. You've got flat earthers, you've got anti-vaxxers, and this is all spreads because of social media.
Vegans.
Exactly. Mentalists.
Beagle ladies.
And this is all spreading because of social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I guess at the same time, when we've never had access to more information, we've never had access to more wrong information as well.
Yeah.
And what is it they say? A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth's even got out of bed or something like that. And I think that's a worrying time. But yeah, my favourite thing about the Flat Earthers is I think it was a tweet or a Facebook message said the Flat Earth Society has members all around the globe. Which is just amazing. Good on you, lads. Good on you.
I saw that.
But then you've got people like Kyrie Irving, the NBA player, Shaquille O'Neal, coming out and saying, they believe the Earth is flat.
We talked about that last week.
What is wrong with you people? And Kyrie's since walked back on that. And
just some of these high-profile people, are they doing it just it gives them their own social media, their own name, a bit of a...
But they don't need it.
I know that, okay. So
but why be associated with stupidity?
Because for whatever reason, right? There's no such thing as
Russell's
bad
doing
PR,
a podcast
right?
with me, to be fair.
Yeah. So good point, well made. There's no such
and
thing
vice versa.
You could argue there's no such thing as bad PR. You could also, why is Hamilton sort of fucking around with his contract? He's got enough money in the bank. He could be paid nothing for the rest of his life and be absolutely fine. But
if you're good at something, why do it for free?
Exactly. So with these people who they are in the limelight because of their professionals, but read about them every day. So I'll say something ridiculous on Twitter. That's going to trend. My profile grows. My branding grows.
Yeah. But again, these are high-profile people who don't need the money for that. I understand if they were some sort of Z-list celebrities, perhaps. Like the Flat Earth Society isn't going to harm anyone. People are stupid. There was that guy who tried to launch a rocket into orbit and failed miserably, but I think he was all right. The anti-vaxxers, that's a problem. And you've got people like Jenny McCarthy and Jim Core, or whatever his name is, all saying, vaccines cause autism. It really doesn't, and you're now creating an environment where people aren't getting vaccinated, and people are...
And there's measles outbreaks around the world.
Polio has come back. I mean, we managed to get rid of polio, which is an amazing human achievement, and it's back because of some fucking idiots.
Shit sport, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Actually, you say that. So my friend of mine set up urban polo in Singapore.
Urban polo?
Urban polo. So it's all done...
Elephants or horses?
Horses. So it's all done within Singapore, but I didn't actually make it last year. But all our friends who went said it was an utterly phenomenal event. And if I get the chance to go this year, I think I'll go. Cause
when it says urban, are they like playing polo down Orchard Road?
Not
that would
exactly.
Be amazing.
I mean, that would be a sight worth seeing.
That's what's in my head. Yeah. And the horses doing like parkour as they're running around.
They might add this in next year. I don't know. But it sounded like it was a phenomenal event. So I think it's done. I can't remember where in Singapore it's done, but it was really well received. And I think it would be an amazing, even better event this year. And I'm looking forward to going. So polio, less a good sport. Urban polo, perhaps very good.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, Inside the Beautiful Game. Danny O comes out every Tuesday.
Around about, I think it's 5 p.m. Singapore time. So that'll be 4 p.m. here and about 8 a.m. UK.
Jesus, it's very precise.
I basically said it so it comes out so people... It's 9 a.m. UK.
Yeah.
So people can basically get it for commute either to work or after
clever.
work.
I'll just put mine up once I get
when you
into
can
the
be
office and I can be asked to do it. Okay, thank you very much. You can get your Inside the Beautiful Game on all your providers. Obviously, subscribe, like it, tick the boxes.
Yeah,
5-star review.
5-star review. Leave a 5-star rating. Leave us a review if you please. And I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, I'll just continue to... Let's say, even if it doesn't get many listens, I'll still keep doing it because
it's enjoyable.
It's a personal project and I enjoy it, and it allows me to be a bit creative.
Well, we listen and we like it. So Daniel, thank you for being on our show.
Cheers,
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed every single second.
We could have gone on for about another 2 hours, I reckon, but I think all of us have got something to do right now.
I haven't. I'm here for a weekend. I'll just keep talking when you guys have gone.
Well, you can do the outro bit if you want.
Actually, good point.
We'll let Dan do the outro bit.
So are we going to do a, thanks very much, sign off, pause, music?
Yeah,
So, Jay.
that's what I was about to do, but you kind of interrupted. So I'm going to say thank you, Dan. Dan says thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Sorry.
You're welcome, Dan. Thanks again.
Thank you, Russell. Now, no, you say thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to leave the space.
And we cue the music. Oh, sorry, I spoke then.
Fucking hell, and he's a professional one. Jesus Christ. Right, now we leave a gap. So that's the podcast.
So that was the podcast. That was good. I enjoyed that.
Dan's still here.
Yeah.
I am still here.
This is going to be a bit awkward, do you not think? Because this is usually the part of the podcast
Where you slag off the person who's just
we'll
been
just
on.
talk about the person we've interviewed.
I
By this point, they've usually fucked off.
No, I thought the interview with Dan was probably up in our top 14
good.
podcasts.
And this is a 14th, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Maybe broke into the top
No,
12.
I enjoyed. Listen, I mean, look, you're still here. It was cool.
It's
To
a
be fair,
podcast
you
extra.
wouldn't look as good in
It's
cowboy
podcast-
boots
yeah, it is
and
podcast
a
extra.
cowboy hat.
No, we
You don't know. You've not seen me wear that.
Trust me, for his personal benefit.
on this one. We basically, it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the podcast. I love Dan. I haven't seen Dan since his wedding, so it was always good to catch up with him. Inside a Beautiful Game. Download it.
We've discussed
Subscribe
that.
it. No, but this is the outro. Some people might not have heard it. This is the outro bit. I'm just
So what,
plugging
just
it
they've
again.
ignored the entirety of the podcast
I
just
mean,
to listen to us talk about what we've just talked about.
I think so.
Fair enough.
Oh, I mean, it's like the
It's a very
highlights.
good- yeah, it's a very good podcast, Inside the Beautiful Game.
I'm
I
glad.
subscribed.
Thank-
I've liked it. I
thank you very
voted
much.
for it on the...
And you've left a review as well. I've seen it.
I left a review as well.
Yeah,
There
you did
go,
on Apple Podcasts, which I appreciate.
see? Happy days. What are you tapping away for?
I was writing a message to somebody.
That's just poor form.
It was poor form. But no, thank you, Dan, for coming in. even though
thank
you're
you for
still
having
here,
me.
on the outro. Russell,
Jay,
we've got a few things we're not sure what we're going to do for the next 4 weeks.
well, we're going to have a load of podcasts readily available to download as per normal.
Okay.
You said that with a lot of confidence.
I got a lot of work to do this week.
Yeah,
If you
easy.
like our show, it's Jayleshark and Friends on Facebook. Go and like it on there. We're on Twitter under Phuket Podcast. And we are on Instagram, even though I've not put one picture up yet. And that, I believe, is Jayleshark and Friends and Russell.
So you've kept it nice in uniform.
No, not at all.
Which makes it easy.
Not at all.
That's-
And I
that
don't
was a good
care.
idea.
Who
That's what it
cares?
is.
Yeah.
I have actually, though, this one thing I have done is I've set up a Facebook group,
Nice.
which I'm now trying to amalgamate and move the people from the page over to the group, because groups get a lot more engagement and a lot more...
Yeah, I was talking to someone else about that.
What's the
I
word?
think I need to do that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pages don't get shown up as much now. So you want to have a group, but you can't...
Bloody Facebook.
You can't change... Yeah, I know. You can't change a page to a group.
No,
Dicks.
but you can link them.
But you have to... Well, you can link them, but then you have to hopefully people come over to the group. Anyway,
Yeah.
we've done that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Are you looking forward to your holiday?
I'm looking forward to my holiday, actually. Yeah, I haven't planned... Well, I have planned for it. I got a pack.
Back to Blighty.
Back to England. 3 weeks in England.
Nice.
I'm leaving a big dog at my house, so don't go and rob it. If anyone's in Phuket, I've got a big dog. And but if
Is
you do,
that not your nickname for Russell?
no, he's little Chihuahua. I do have some fish, and if you are robbing my house, can you feed the fish? I'm looking at you, Dan. If you're going to go and rob my house, can you feed my fish at the
It's
same
a
time?
bit of
black
a
thing?
bit of a trek from
It was
Singapore.
not a black thing. No. Don't bring race into this already. On that note, like us on Apple Podcasts.
yes.
Oh, it's Apple Podcasts. Like Danny O's on Apple Podcasts.
Without looking, what's it called?
It's a beautiful game.
It's close enough.
Can I go now?
You can.
Thank you, Dan.
Pleasure. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
Russell.
me.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.